Welcome back, folks. First live of 2025. Time to shake the rust off. Time for me to get back into the game, and time to tackle 2025 with some vigor. It's already 9 days in, and like, what the hell's going on? There's so much going on. It's insane. 9 days, and we've got a prime minister kind of stepping down. Terrorist attacks by veterans, drones that are maybe not drones. Man, threat of war from the United States. What is going on? So today I want to know how you're doing. How you doing? Drop some comments. Let's get the comments started. Welcome back to the Hard to Kill podcast and our Thursday lives. Every Thursday at 2 p.m. we go live right here. I'm even trying to open up an Instagram live channel here, probably unsuccessfully. I don't have my producer here today, so I'm just kind of doing this by the seat of my pants. But the break was interesting. I have to say, on my end, it was great hanging out with the kids. Of course, the kids got me deathly sick, and I'm still like full of mucus. So if you hear some raspiness and I have to blow my nose, that's the reason why. So of course, the entire break I was sick, but that's fine. Got a ton of family time in, which was awesome. Ate myself to death. I was really like a Roman emperor. I'll be honest. I really ballooned up. I didn't give a shit. I got to 230 pounds. But not like 230 pounds jacked. This was Roman Emperor. Like, I'm eating till 9 p.m. and I'm going all in. I'm drinking wine. I'm eating meats and salts and fats and just like going to town. And my body felt it. I hurt all over. I was disgusted with myself. So since January 1st, it's been carnivore month in the Veterans Getting Fit AF community. Yes, it's to benefit the community, but it's also to benefit me. And I happen to be 10 pounds down already. I'm super pumped. This year, I'm taking 2025 very seriously. I take every year very seriously, but this year, it's time to kill the fat kid. Officially, it's time to kill the fat kid within me. So I've set up a series of goals, and I'm curious to know what yours are. My main one, physically, is I want to get down to 10% body fat. I've never done it. I've been at 14 when I was doing the Ironman, but 10% is going to be a stretch. It's going to be hard, and that's why I want to do it. So I'm setting up my habits so that I can actually get there on the physical side of things. I've got my business goals. I got my personal goals. I've got my relationship goals. I've got all those as well. Curious to know what your goals are. We've got Chris here. It's been a wild start to the year, indeed. Yes. And hey, Chris, first time tuning in. Yeah, man. Right on. I love your stuff on X. Keeping it real. You're in the fight, like literally. I just sit in my warm office and podcast away. So appreciate what you're doing in the space, Chris. So today we're going to be chatting about a few interesting things. I've got a whole list of things that I want to go over. The main one is that at the end of it, as you probably saw, this is about microdosing. So at the end of this rant, at the end of
getting off my chest, what I want to get off my chest onto the interwebs. We're going to be talking about microdosing. And then immediately after this live, you can head over to my Veterans Getting Fit AF community and attend the live Q&A with Dave Swoboda. Now, Dave Swoboda, and I'll get into more details about it, but he runs a veteran-based BJJ retreat in Mexico. He was the last live that I had a guest on in 2024 in December, and was the best live performance I've ever had. So like, Dave, okay, we got to work with a winning recipe here. So if you want to hear more about him, I'll get into the details at the end of this conversation. But let's get into it, man. We're going to be talking about just what's going on in the veteran space. Our share and shill moment is coming up. We're going to recap a conversation that was had between Aaron O'Toole and a bunch of veterans, including myself, on X Spaces during the holidays in December. We're going to recap the Valor Legal lawsuits that there's just so much going on. It's hard to kind of keep a grip of everything. Even I'm having trouble. So I want to make sure that you guys are well informed. And then what the hell happened in the US with those 2 veteran-led attacks on January 1st? We'll get into that and look at Sean Ryan's response. And then how do we approach 2025 with an open mind and microdosing 101? We'll wrap it all up with that. So let's get right into it, folks. Our moment of share and shill is, I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't shill my own book, right? So if you haven't got your hands on the copy of Harden the F Up, what's holding you back? Hey, look, you know what? I get it. You don't want to read a hard copy. Some of us, it's hard to read. I get it. There's an audio version. Get the audio version. Like that book that's right behind me right now, just pick up the audio version. It's 2.5 hours ish, if I remember correctly. It's in, out. You get the actionable intel. You go apply it. And I'm just going to read you some of the comments here, because you don't need to believe me, right? Believing me, I mean, of course, I'm going to talk well about my book, but just go into some of the comments here. One of the best comments I got was actually from a Facebook user. So Michael here, he wrote me, he sent me a DM. And I don't check Facebook as much as I used to. So sometimes those take a while to get responded to. But, I was going through making sure, people got responded to. And I saw this comment, and he wrote this amazing post about just picking up the book just randomly and then reading it. And then his whole story behind it just was so inspiring. And for me, it makes me realize, like, hey, the information that I was able to get on the podcast from these experts is actually making a difference. So I'll just read it quickly for you folks. And especially for those that are listening on audio later, this is for you. So I came across this book after seeing a random Facebook post promoting it. So on a whim, I ordered it. To say it had an impact on me would be an understatement. I'm also a veteran of the CAF, and like Dave, things took a downturn after my release. This culminated in me having a serious heart attack at a relatively young age. Reading this book not only helped motivate me to change, but helped me to make a plan on how to do it. This book is succinct and concise, an entertaining and easy read. I haven't read a book in over a decade, but once I picked it up, I couldn't put it down. If these last few paragraphs resonate with you even a little bit, order the book. You will not be disappointed. So, Mike, really appreciate that. That means the world to me, man. And folks, if you've read the book and you have some insights you want to share, drop the comments here and the reviews on Amazon. You probably don't realize how important these comments are, but if it gets on Amazon, it creates an algorithm surge, and folks that really could benefit from the book will have a higher likelihood of seeing it. So if you want to give me a Christmas present this year that costs you $0, if you've read the book, if you bought the book, if you've heard about the book, go leave a review, and it would mean the world to me and to veterans down the road that may be curious whether or not this book is for them. Your comment and your rating could be the game changer for them. So appreciate that. So moving on, I just wanted to show you a quick ad that I did here to give you a bit of context as to like why I wrote the book, because that's always important. So I'm just going to show you an ad that I created, and it's on Instagram. Let me just see if we can catch it at the beginning. 240 episodes. I picked 19 of the best ones with the best experts to create a guide for any veteran that wants to get out of the hole and become a little bit more harder to kill. Let's get ourselves fitter. Let's get ourselves healthier. But more importantly, let's improve the overall health of the veteran community so that we can stop losing our friends to suicide and also be more present in our communities, in our families, and in our careers. So you can go pick up the book. It's available on Amazon. I'd love for you to have a listen to on Audible. And when you do, please leave a review. It helps substantially get me closer to my goal of helping 100,000 veterans lose 2 million pounds. That's it. So that's it, folks. This book was written during the deepest, darkest days of a lockdown during the COVID era. It's true. Allowed me to get what was on my mind onto the computer screen and not lose my mind in the process. That's Tim true. Ferriss's example from Tools for Titans and Lewis House's book, School of Greatness. So that's essentially it. The long and short of it was this was more of a mental health exercise than anything when I was writing this book. And it turns out the folks that read it, and we just got a new comment here that I'll share with you folks. Appreciate it. Hey, Dave, watching from work. Get the book. It's great. Even a zipperhead can understand your trademark. Yeah, right on. And that's the point. I want it to be concise. I want it to be to the point, and I want it to be actionable because I benefit from basically everything that I've talked about on my podcast is my therapy. It was free therapy. I just figured out a way to get free therapy from amazing individuals that have amazing points of view. And I implemented a bunch of the stuff and it's working, which is far better than if you were to just follow VAC or VA's recommendations, right? Because they're just following a protocol that they have, which is a standard of care. Well, there are other things that are available to you. You just need to broaden your horizons. And this is it. I'm not saying that I'm the expert in everything. Far from it. Listen to the experts that are there. The references are all there as well. Go find these individuals. Go listen to their podcasts. Go read their books and have a more fulfilling 2025. So even if you can't work out, maybe you're limited. It doesn't matter. There are things that you can do. And I guarantee you there's stuff in this book that you're going to be able to use and in action immediately. So good luck, guys. And there'll be more to follow on this, obviously, in the future. So let's get moving down the list. For folks that want to actually start the process and have access to weekly PT, to get a little bit of coaching, to attend seminars like the one we're going to have at 3 p.m. after this live, and to get some fun into your lives with respects to fitness, health, and all that good stuff, then I'm going to point you to the Veterans Getting Fit AF community. You can join for free for 1 week, see if it's the right fit for you. And you can see here, these are all the modules that you can go through, right? So I constantly add new stuff. It's a team of coaches here, team of veterans. And what we're doing is just building a community around fitness and health, having some fun with it, and listening to what you guys are really curious about. So this is it. It's really simple. It's not Facebook, so you don't get all the ads. You don't get all the spam. It's a really simple app. It's a simple community. You don't need to worry about like all the other distractions. That's why I love this platform. And then we go from there. So if that's something that you're really interested in joining, the link is in the description. And that's where we're going to be doing our conversation later on today on microdosing. Okay, so I wanted to get into the next point of conversation, which is the Aaron O'Toole shit posting comment. Oh, and I forgot to mention, if you guys are wondering my hat, I think, did I get like a limited edition? I can't find it online anymore. I don't know if Catherine is still selling them at Valor Legal. So make CAF warriors again. So this is to raise money for the legal fund for the appeal for the 330 CAF members that are taking the CAF to court. So I got one of the hats and I'm proudly supporting the effort. So if you can find the link, great. But I will be posting the link to the Valor Legal Action Center soon. So just bear with me. But if you guys are wondering where I got my hat, a lot of people have been asking and getting a lot of looks in the grocery store. Red hats with white lettering make people give you weird looks. It's really interesting. It's a good social experiment. So So we had a chat with Aaron O'Toole. So he, if you're not aware, was a member of Parliament and was he the official opposition leader? He was the official opposition leader for a little bit, right? He ran for Prime Minister. Was that in 2019? That was 2021 against JT, and he lost. So he's a veteran, and he had some things to say about not supporting the CAF. And this article kind of rubbed a lot of us the wrong way. and I'll just read it to you here. Your military needs your support, not your shit post. So this is on a Substack. So veterans need to stand up for the calf and not tear it down. So this is written on November 24th, 2024. And, if you guys can't see this and you're listening on audio, the image that he uses, I don't know if he actually has a sense of humor like this, but it's an old like propaganda poster, like motivation poster to go overseas and fight the Germans. And it says lick them over there. And it's got a Canadian soldier like pointing towards the UK. Come on, Canada. Like uh, phrasing. I don't know. Like the 40s were a wild time, man. 40s were a wild time. Clearly, lick them over there is not something that you would say if you wanted to get any kind of war effort started in 2025. But, anyways, I digress. So, I'll summarize the article for you. You can go read it. It's free to read. And, I always support veterans that are out and about and doing things either politically or whatever, regardless of their opinion, right? We need more voices out there. So essentially the gist of what he was trying to say is that folks like myself, I guess, would qualify in the shit posting because I'm hypercritical of the calf. But he was referencing, and he has it here in the article as I scroll down, a video that was on Twitter about I believe it was Remembrance Day parade. Yeah, that the drill, like it was all services, but like it was just a freaking dog's breakfast. I couldn't watch. I had to turn it off. Oh, like as a former senior NCO and a former Grenadier Guard senior NCO that only did this in the summer times for like 5 years of my life, drill was a big part of my life. So we'd always get tapped to train folks to do drill, and we had a drill team and all that stuff. So seeing this was just gave me shivers. Anyways, the comments on this were horrendous. I won't put them up, but you can go find them yourself. And so for him, this was like unsatisfactory. Like, how can you criticize this? Like, it's unbecoming of like veterans to do this kind of thing. And okay, so some of the things were rude and aggressive. I'll give him that. However, a lot of the sentiment goes way beyond just a bad performance on the parade square, right? It's the fact that the standard has lowered so much over the last few years that we almost don't recognize our own Canadian Armed Forces from afar, right? Like I'm not in anymore. I don't work there. But the gender ideology, the lowering of standards, the lack of kit, the abuse of power, the just poor level of discipline, the green hair, like all of that stuff, it rubs me and it rubs us the wrong way. And not to mention, like, if everything was going well and at least the guys are getting treated okay, but like there's kid issues and stuff like that, we could let things slide, but they're being treated horribly, as we see with the lawsuits. The abuse of power is insane. So it's a moral injury for me. And I think for a lot of you folks too that are listening, to see this kind of stuff. So when you get an opportunity to kind of lash out, that's how some people react. That's how sadness a lot of times manifests itself, and manifests itself in anger. And sometimes the only time you can express anger is through a shit post. And that is the conversation we had. And unfortunately, I don't feel like Aaron understood that. We brought up things like the woke ideology. We brought up things like the mandates. I got to speak a little bit as well. That my point of view is not from a point like I don't want to tear it down. I want it to be better. And when people are doing shitty things, and when leaders are terrible, and when standards drop, it makes me worried about the future of my country. And I made it clear that I'm the second generation of Canadians to have fought in a war for Canada. Yet, if it were to come down to whether or not I want my kids, especially my son, to join the military and fight, I said absolutely not. And I think a lot of us are in the same boat too. And I'm curious to know how you were thinking. If you're a veteran and you have children and they're maybe they're young, they're not of war fighting age. If a war does pop off in the next few years, which I think there will be, will it be like a hot war? I don't know, but something's brewing. I don't want them to go fight. No, not with this military. No way. And it crushes me to even say that out loud, but I would not want them to join. So I'm curious to know how you think about that. Is it gone so far that the generational families that typically, I think it's like 70% of everybody that's in the military has like a relative that served before them. Have we got to the point where we've broken the backs of that? And then if that's the case, then what do we do from here? So I'm curious to know in the comments if that's something that's bothering you as well, and if that resonates with you as well. So that was a conversation we had, and it just goes to show for me anyways that there's a certain level of like politician and I guess within that like officer class, RMC graduate that is just clueless as to what is going on at our level. And what I mean our level, like you're paying attention to a podcast, a streaming podcast online right now. I'm pretty sure he's not. Granted, he's on Substack, good for him. But I think the overwhelming majority are just so lost in the sauce, and they're still within the silo of RMC, duty, loyal, integrity, all that stuff that they get jammed down their throats. But when push comes to shove, they don't actually recognize that like they're drinking their own Kool-Aid, and they don't realize that everything's in shambles. Like that meme with that dog where everything's fine, everything's burning around them. That's the way I see that kind of generation. They're not clued in, and for the better part of like the last decade or two, they don't want to see the problems. So it's a typically Canadian response, right? Just avoid, pretend it's not there, and maybe just like legislate it away and then shame us for acting out. Right? Like that's essentially what they're doing. Like, bad boy, you shouldn't be doing that. That's unbecoming of a soldier. Please. I think we got to get past that. So that's all I want to say about that. And now let's get into the lawsuits. If you guys are tracking the lawsuits, great. I've had Catherine on numerous times. I'm releasing an episode that I had to re-edit that was doing well, but I realized I messed up a little bit on the side of making sure that the identity of the individual that was on the interview it wasn't tight enough, so I had to reset it. So that'll be dropping hopefully tonight. If I can get my shit together. And then there's another episode as well with Catherine that's going to be dropping this weekend where she talks about a lawsuit with a CAF member that is just so devastating with respect to his family and his wife trying to murder his children and the mismanagement of that whole situation at CFB Edmonton. It's heartbreaking. So we chatted about that, and that'll be dropping this weekend as well. So let's get into what's going on with Valor Legal. So if you guys aren't aware, Valor Legal Action Center is the only place that I know of in Canada that actually takes troops' legal concerns seriously and actually goes and pursues folks in the courts. I know. Crazy, eh? Who would have thought that the Canadian Armed Forces members would need legal representation outside of the CAF? But if you've been paying attention to any of the episodes that I've been doing for the last 2 years, you'll recognize that Canadian Armed Forces members don't have a legal leg to stand on. The judicial or the review system, so the grievance system, is absolutely dog shit. It's kangaroo court. So there isn't no incentive for them to rule on anything, and there's no time limit. And so their response is, yeah, it's broken, so you got to go to the federal justice system. And then once you go to the federal justice system, they go, yeah, but you have a grievance system, go to the grievance system. The insanity that creates within our own constitutional monarchy system is like it's borderline Monty Python-esque. If not, it is Monty Python-esque. And I guess the best way to call it is Kafka-esque. I learned that word over the holiday. It's surreal. It's what do you do with that? So Catherine's been actually taking them to task, which is great. Op Valor 1 and 2. So Op Valor is the 330 CAF members who had essentially their careers ripped away from them for not abiding by the vax mandate. Now, some of the folks are still in the forces. Not everybody is out, but there's just a whole hodgepodge of different circumstances. And if you paid attention to the live I did, where I live streamed and commented on the court proceedings, the judge took 2 months to basically make a ruling on like 18,000 pages of evidence, something insane, and just said, "Well, yeah, there's a grievance system. So too bad, so sad. All you 330, like, go pound sand. I'm not listening to this." Turns out that there's an error in her judgment, and part of that judgment was based on somebody who wasn't even a plaintiff. So back to the courts it goes, and so the appeal is on. So the center definitely does need support. So if you guys are looking to support, there is a merch page here where you can get some merch, and proceeds are some of the proceeds go to. Let's go open that up. Some of the proceeds go to the appeals process, and I see we got a nice little logo here, and it's CP Gear out of New Brunswick. Nice. That was like the OG like gear store back in the day, like 2003. Like the internet's just like getting sorted out. I'm ordering like boot bands, like CP Gear. That's that goes way back. Any old timers out there that know what I'm talking about, like getting on CP Gear and like getting boot bands sent to your house was like the best day ever. Patches. I was like, oh shit. I'm gaming the system. So that's cool that they got a distributor here for CP Gear, and they got a fancy new logo. So might want to go support them. They got also Op Valor 2.0 that's in the pipe, and I'm almost scared to even talk about it. But there's another lawsuit called Op Safe and Effective for injuries incurred during the mandates. So that is going to be explosive. I would be surprised if anybody reports on it. So you're going to have to stay tuned here, because let's be honest, the mainstream media will not report on this. I doubt anybody's going to report on it. Maybe the Epoch Times, maybe the Western Standard. So what that means is you're locked into the only channel, the only news channel, if you want to call it that, in Canada that's going to bring you the news on some seriously important, like groundbreaking stuff within our judicial system that just goes by the wayside in any normal news cycle. Because why would we pay attention to something that fundamentally underpins our constitution, right? So stay tuned for that. And then there was an ATIP dump, so an access to information dump that I got a link. I got a link on Twitter. So I'm just going to show it to you here for a second. So Pronto News is starting to talk about this. So good on you, Pronto News. You got 1,000. Yeah, that's not bad. So the Canadian Armed Forces implemented mandates while openly acknowledging there was no medical requirement for it. So this has been batted around in the news, like the actual news, for a little bit. This is actually the story that got me kind of fired up again in podcasting. And the whole Sean Ryan, Dallas Alexander episode, it all kind of brought everything together, and I realized, man, there's a really big story here. Nobody's talking about it. Let's dig in. So there's briefing notes that were there that the chief of defense staff didn't listen to. So this all came out because the Canadian Forces were scared of getting sued. So they finally released the ATIP request. Post 202, the Canadian Forces agrees it's illegal to discriminate based on a wide range of grounds while openly discriminating against soldiers based on their private medical status. Yep. Yeah. If you got myocarditis or pericarditis from the thingy while serving in the CAF, here's a proof that they knew it caused those side effects, but still coerced their members into inoculation. Oof. Ugh. Following on, according to the emails, one of the reasons the Novavax vaccine was introduced into the forces was to convince the members who had refused vaccination thus far to change their minds and get vaccinated. Gets better. Yay. While they were administering it, they didn't even know the effectiveness, only going off models and not doing honest peer review. They were conversing whether to lower public health measures on how people would feel comfortable about it. Isn't that so awesome? Yeah. So, and it goes on. There's like 18,000 pages here. It's absolute beast. So that's so disconcerting, man. Like the fact that all this went on, and so many of us knew that this didn't make sense, and so many of us voiced concerns. And we know, and I know from conversations I've had with other folks that were still in, the people inside knew as well that this was not cool, but they went along with it. They went along with it. You know, what's that quote from Solzhenitsyn? Like, they know, we know, they know, we know, and everybody still goes along with the lie. It's something like that. That's how communism works. Everybody knows it's a lie, but you still go on with the lie because there's fear involved there, and that fear keeps that lie alive. Because what was it? You lose your job. Cool. You lose your job, lose your livelihood. Okay, can't feed your family, can't pay the mortgage. Like, you're fucked, right? That was the fear. So they dangled that over your head. What do you do after that? You know what I mean? Like, maybe you're 15, you're waiting for a pension. Like, God forbid. Like, it's serious stuff here, man. And I don't know what's going to happen, man, with the lawsuit, the appeal. It's just the overwhelming amount of evidence that this was just a huge, huge abuse of power. And that's what it is. It's just people getting on their high horse, and air saying like, no, we're not going to listen to our own. We're not going to listen to a legal opinion when it's time to do the right thing. Sometimes you need to ignore our own opinions when it's time to do the right thing. Something to that effect. It's like, dude, really? Like, really? I hope that guy goes to prison, man. Honestly, for what he did. I hope a lot of people go to prison, but we should know for sure, but I don't think anybody's going to see any repercussions. They're just going to pay things out. And I don't know. I don't think that's good enough. Money is not good enough. And I think that's where we've come to in our society. Like, we pay off for transgressions that should require people to lose their right to freedom, in my opinion. I mean, that would send a message, sending the people in the highest positions to literal prison and be like, hey, man, like, if we don't do this, the country's going to literally, I shouldn't say literally fall apart. The country is going to tear itself apart. So, to prison for you, like, that would send a huge message to all Western nations. Like, hey, Canada's taking this shit seriously, but all the politicians are in bed with each other. They're not going to put each other in jail. So that's why they're worried about folks like us. We're principled. Don't make me prime minister, though. I don't want that job. I definitely don't want that job. How they get yelled at when you go skiing? No thanks. No thanks. I'd be like that Bolivian prime minister. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Is it Bolivian or Paraguayan? He drives a shitty ass car. He goes back to his home like every night in like the hills. He's like, don't bother me. He's like, you guys are in control. He's like, I just like sign off on documents. He's like, it's your country. You govern it the way you see fit on a day to day. And I'll make sure that I listen to you folks. Like, he's like a pure gangster. It's like, I'm not that important. Like, he doesn't have a security detail. He just like fucks off home every day. I'm like, yes, that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. I'm not that important. Just I sign a few documents and I make sure that what you guys want is pushed down the aisle of the House of Commons or the Senate, whatever you want to call it. So that being said, way more to follow on that, and I've got I'm sure a lot more interviews coming down the pipe on that as well. So let's get into like some of the juicy stuff with Sean Ryan. We got another comment here. Let's pop it up here. Microdosing rocks. He's got to figure out the right dose at the right time of day, and it will rock your world and make you smarter. Dean, Denver. I mean, my experience I wrote about in my book. It's something that I did relatively consistently. No, it's been 2 years, man. It's 2 years ago now. It's crazy. So I was going through a real rough patch, and it led to my wife and I breaking up. And I just had to find out like what the hell is like what's wrong with me, like what is going on. Like I need to. So I ordered stuff from BC. It was called what was it called? Viewmaster. And I mean, like, you don't notice anything, but you notice something, and it just allowed me to be a lot more open with myself. So that really helped. I think it had a massive impact on my growth and my well-being moving forward. So that's why I'm so curious about doing more and learning more about it, and that's why we're having Dave on at 3. So awesome. I'm James, welcome back. Here to support, brother. Yeah, right on, man. Right on. Oh, okay, so let's get into something really juicy. Did you guys see the Sean Ryan episode with Shu, who I follow on Twitter? He's got a really interesting account. So when he was here on Sean Ryan, I'm like, oh, is that Shu? Yes, his name is Sam Shoemate. He's Sam Soros, I think, on Twitter. And They sat down, and this guy, Sam, got an email from Liversberger, who was the Trump Tower bomber. This just throws a whole like other wrinkle into everything. And it's just, I mean, real life is more interesting than any TV show, right? And I love the Sean Ryan show. And so I just wanted to share with you this and comment on one of the things that came out from this email in this episode. So sit tight.
Wow. Do you want to read the email?
Yep. So this email came in on December 31st at 10:42 a.m. That is Tuesday. He said, in case I do not make it to my decision point or onto the Mexico border, I am sending this now. Please do not release this until 1 January and keep my identity private until then. First off, I am not under duress or hostile influence or control. My first car was a 2006 black Ford Mustang V6 for verification. What we have been seeing with drones, he puts that in quotes, he says drones, is the operational use of gravitic propulsion systems powered aircraft by most recently China and the East Coast, but throughout history, the US. Only we in China have this capability. Our OPSEN, that's Operation Center, our OPSEN location for this activity it is in the box below. China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years, but this activity recently has picked up. As of now, it is just a show of force, and they are using it similar to how they used a balloon for SIGINT and ISR, which are also part of the integrated comm system. There are dozens of those balloons in the air at any given time. The so what is because of the speed and stealth of these unmanned aircraft. They are the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed. They basically have an unlimited payload capacity and can park it over the White House if they want it. It's checkmate. U.S. government needs to give the history of this, how we are employing it and weaponizing it, how China is employing them and what the way forward is. China is poised to attack anywhere in the East Coast. I've been followed for over a week now from likely Homeland or FBI, and they are looking to move on me and are unlikely going to let me cross into Mexico, but won't because they know I am armed and I have a massive V-bid. Let me pause right there for a second. So he says a massive V-bid. When I was talking to the FBI yesterday, they didn't know what a V-bid was. I had to explain what that acronym meant, literally.
You fucking serious?
Dead serious. I said it twice and he goes, you said that word V-bid. Can you tell me what that is? For your audience, a V-bid, for your audience who has not been in the GWOT for the last 20 years, a V-bid is a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device. In layman's terms, a car bomb, what we saw at Trump Tower. So backing up, he says, I am armed and have a massive V-bid. I've been trying to maintain a very visible profile and have kept my phone, and they are definitely digitally tracking me. Here's where he gets into the other stuff. And this is where we had to redact the names. Well, your producer redacted the names. I have knowledge of this program and also war crimes that were covered up during airstrikes in Nimruz province, Afghanistan in 2019 by the admin, DOD, DEA, and CIA. I conducted targeting for these strikes of over 125 buildings. 65 were struck because of civcas, that's civilian casualties, that killed hundreds of civilians in a single day. U.S. FORA continued strikes after spotting civilians on initial ISR. It was supposed to take 6 minutes and scramble all aircraft in CENTCOM. The UN basically called these war crimes, but the administration made them disappear. I was part of that cover-up with U.S. FORA, an agent, redacted, of the DEA. So I don't know if my abduction attempt is related to either. I worked with redacted IO staff on this as well as the response to Bala Murghab. Redacted commander at the time, redacted can validate this. You need to elevate this to the media so we avoid a world war because this is a mutually assured destruction situation. Then he says, for vetting, my LinkedIn is Matt Berg or Matthew Livelsberger, an active duty 18 Zulu out of 110, that's 1st Battalion, 10th Special Forces Group. My profile is public. I have an active TSSCI with UAP, USAP access.
What is USAP? Do you know what that is?
I don't know what that is. But I checked his credentials on LinkedIn.
Wow. All right. So if you guys have seen it, cool. But if you guys haven't seen it, the main comment I want to make here is that, there is speculation that, well, maybe he didn't kill himself. Maybe he's like a secret squirrel and he's that good. And he, he faked his own death with a self-driving car, and the DNA didn't match, and his phone number changed, and all kinds of different things. And yeah, I mean, like, my initial response to it was, if he is that highly trained and he wanted to kill people, he wouldn't have packed his Cybertruck full of fireworks and just parked it in front of the building. He would have smashed it through the building. He would have had a massive fertilizer bomb, and he would have caused havoc. He didn't. And actually, nobody was hurt except for himself. So, that seems like it was just done to highlight that this is a show to bring attention, and this is the intent that was sought, and I think he got the message out. But it's a real mystery, and if this Matthew Livsberger troop was really hurting, my take is that if he had any part in those alleged war crimes, his soul must have just been dying inside. And I think that speaks to a bigger crisis of conscience that a lot of us in the veteran community are having, because of especially during the GWAT era. I mean, I just have a hard time, man. Honestly, like, it's hard not to think about our time over there, my time over there, and just the inability to reconcile with the fact that, like, what the fuck were we doing over there? And then in his case, to be witness to alleged war crimes and maybe to be part of a cover up. Oh man, like, it's just, there's so many people that are just so smashed by these things that we all had to do in the name of the war on terror. But there was, like, once Afghanistan fell and Kabul just completely, you realize that, like, the emperor has no clothes. Like, this was all pointless. Because at least if there was a strong why, if there's a strong why, you could hold on to the fact that, okay, you know what, we did it for this reason. But we don't have that reason. At least I don't have that reason. So I've just had to shift the frame and be like, hey, I got to help 2 families get home from Afghanistan. By home, I mean Canada. That's my win. I got to open up a school and see kids actually, like, have fun and learn for about 4 months. That's the win. It's not the war itself. It's those small little moments that I cling on to that provide me a sense of, I guess, closure. But if you were involved in bigger operations and just saw the complete and utter disaster and the lack of give a shit by your politicians, and then, if there's cover-ups, you name it, and, there's definitely whiffs of war crime here in Canada. Like, like, if you think there's not, let me tell you, it's in the media. It has been, but it's just been swept under the rug. Straight up war crimes, brought to the attention of the Canadian press by the ambassador. What we were doing were straight up war crimes by handing over prisoners, but it's never come to a head because it's just been swept under the rug. So there's a big come to Jesus moment coming. I think that's the big message here. So I wanted to share that with you guys and see how you guys feel about that. There's a lot of theories out there about that attack. But my take is that the guy was suffering and he wanted to bring attention to this issue. And I think he did. And the whole gravitic technology stuff, further on the episode, Sean's Ryan acts like surprised. He's like, I don't know what this is. I don't know how he's able to say that, to be honest, because I've watched episodes of his where he's talking to, like, Dr. Greer about these anti-gravity vehicles that we've been back engineering since the 40s. I'm just kind of perplexed. Like, maybe he just had a lapse of memory, but unless I'm crazy, but I've looked at so they definitely talk about this stuff. Maybe it was just the term that he was just unclear of. So he's had too many episodes over the last few years to kind of keep track. But those are the episodes that really blew me away, were the ones on, alien tech, because that's my guilty pleasure. I love that. I just want to know things. I just want to know the deeper reasons why. I want to, like, my whole life quest is to, like an ancient Greek, I want to know why we're here. It's the age old question. Why are we here? I just want to know. And if there's aliens and, like, lizard people living below, I want to know that. Are the lizard people, like, are they here? Do they live amongst us? I don't know. frig, man, who built the pyramid? I don't know. It's just a search for truth. And yeah, there's all kinds of wacky shit going on, man. Those drone things, that's cuckoo bananas what was going on there in the States. So I don't know. Is that what's going on? Is it just both countries have these these gravitic technology things that are flying around? And then there's all kinds of war crimes from the wars. So that this all gets looped in. And then I don't know, man. I don't know. All I know is that I like being here in my office and doing some podcasts and having you guys tune in. That's what I like. So let's get into some microdosing, and then we'll head over to Veterans Getting Fit AF to carry on the conversation. So the organization that puts on a really cool retreat for veterans is called Becoming Om. So it's Dave and his wife Cordy. Dave is a doctor of physical therapy, and his wife is a therapist as well. And they have these retreats. So Operation Flow State is the holistic wellness summit. It's jiu-jitsu retreat, all for veterans and first responders. Seb Lavoie is the head instructor. So shout out to Seb. If you don't know Seb, fellow Canadian, RCMP, Sergeant Major, SWAT, like badass, like CrossFit box owner, like chill dude. Been on the show twice, and he's going to be the chief instructor. It's in Tulum, Mexico. The cool thing is, like it says here, it's VAC funded. So I'm going through the process right now using your education reimbursement, which is amazing. Like, think about it, right? You get the government to pay for a BJJ retreat that helps you heal and, build, especially if you have PTSD, build your trust back in humanity, because that's been proven. And you can find out why in my book. BJJ is so important and has been catching on like wildfire within the veteran community, because it builds trust within your fellow human again, because you're close, you're sweating on each other, you guys have nuts on your face, you're like, oh, and that if you get arm barred and you tap, like, it's done, it's over. It's like, okay, these are the rules. That's awesome. Because when you serve and when you deploy, especially, everybody's a target, everybody's a potential enemy. You have to keep your wits about you at all times. It breaks your ability to trust other human beings again. And that's at least something that I've experienced, and maybe something you've experienced as well. So BJJ is really important for that. And that's why I like doing it as well. There's also a Wild Women Healing Retreat and a Flow State BJJ retreat, which is the retreat, but it's just not geared towards veterans. So they do a lot of coaching, and one of the coaching seminars they do is on microdosing. So what is microdosing? So I'm not the expert. Let's just look at what Harvard has to say. Okay. So Harvard, the popularity of microdosing of psychedelics. What does the science say? There's no definitive evidence yet that microdosing with psychedelics is either effective or safe. Oh, we've heard that before. Safe and effective. Where have we heard safe and effective before? Anyways, psilocybin is from a mushroom. These are, you can grow them. Mushrooms have been part of humanity forever. Okay. And in terms of their psychedelic properties, we know which ones can give you a trip and ones that can't, ones that you can just eat with like your eggs in the morning. So the interesting thing is the microdosing concept is essentially a way to allow you to get a therapeutic effect from the dosage, but not have the psychoactive effect that prevents you from doing your day-to-day. Okay. So for instance, I would take my microdose. I wouldn't really feel any, like, I would work all day. But the effects physiologically, and this is from preliminary evidence, is that you're starting to rebuild neural connections. And that's the beauty of psychedelics. And that's what the research is starting to show. And when scientists say that microdosing is either effective or safe, like, no definitive evidence in science, okay, you have to have a lot of peer review, like decades worth of peer review. And peer review meaning people write papers after they do a study. It goes to the peer review process because it gets published in a scientific journal. Other scientists try to replicate that study or not. They do their own study. And then a body of knowledge comes to a consensus that actually, yeah, it has a really big therapeutic benefit. And, this is the effective dose. This is, how long you should do it. Now, we're starting to touch on a lot of the esoteric as well, which modern science is not really cool with, because it brings in spirituality, which science tried to kind of push away from the Western world. And this is a whole other conversation, but now we're trying to bring it back. And it's really curious to see that the veteran population are the ones that are bringing that esoteric knowledge back, because we're left with no other options. The SSRIs don't work. The talk therapy doesn't work, or mildly works. And the suicide crisis is far from over. We're still killing ourselves at way too high a rate to just pretend like it's not there and pretend like the system and the current paradigm works. It doesn't. It completely doesn't work. So you have to go out on your own and find something else. And a lot of veterans have been going out on their own and finding their own treatment methods, because they're just fed up with the medication, and from Big Pharma, that is. So that points me to the conversation I had with Toby, and that was in 2023. Man, that's crazy. So Toby Miller, Canadian Forces veteran. The reason why I found out about becoming OM and Dave and Cordy's retreat is through Toby. Toby mentioned, yeah, man, I started doing this microdosing protocol. I started doing the psychedelic protocol with these folks that are in Mexico. And, I was down to my last wits, 26 meds per day he was taking, antipsychotics, you name it, SSRIs. He was having like near deadly interactions with the police. It was bad. It was bad. So he said, fuck it. Like, I don't have I have nothing to lose. And he went from 26 meds down to 1. And if you want to hear his story, just go check this episode out. I'll drop the link right here, right now. If you haven't already listened to it, it is a must listen, in my opinion. And I mentioned it in the book as well, because he just tells his story, and he's just a normal guy, just like all of us. And so he really piqued my interest. And it was really Toby's story that piqued my interest in this whole line of research and exploration. And I hope it does for you as well. So we're going to carry on the conversation on the Vets Getting Fit AF community. If you're curious to know how to tune in, the link is in the description, but I'll also drop the link here. So this is the calendar link here. We're going to do the microdosing thing. Now, like I said, if you want to become a part of the community, it is a free 7-day trial. So you can come join the community. You can listen right now if you'd like. And if it's the right fit for you and you're like, yeah, actually kind of enjoy this community, what Dave's putting together here, and these people seem pretty cool, then you're more than welcome to stay for as long as you want. And we do something like this every month. Like I said, I do PT every week. So we do a Friday morning PT. It's like a 7 to 15 minute blast, and I'm there on camera with you. So I post the workout and we do it all together. And then we also have group coaching calls for anybody that's in a program. And every day there's something new to kind of learn and get yourself more dialed in for 2025. So if that floats your boat and that's something that you want to give a listen to today for the Microdosing 101, hit the link that's here, not only in the description, but also in the chat. So we're just about done here, folks. So I really appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget, every Thursday we go live, barring a kid being sick, barring me being sick. I'm here live talking about the things that matter most about fitness, health, and nutrition, and politics now, apparently, with the military community. So if you want to hit me up, make sure to find me on Instagram at the Hard to Kill podcast, and find me on X at the H2K pod as well. Love to hear your thoughts about any episodes and things that you want to actually hear on the podcast as well, including guests. So that's it for me today. This was actually a lot smoother than I thought for my first day back. So thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, support support veteran-owned businesses. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button. Make sure to share widely with your friends. And don't forget to train hard, fight easy. I'll see you on the next one. And I'll see you at 3 o'clock in 5 minutes for the Microdosing 101 seminar. Peace.